Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. The final chapter of Anatomy and Physiology. Come a long way this year, guys. A lot of stuff happening. But we're here. The last chapter. Right. 3 more videos. These notes broken into 3 videos, a couple assignments for each one, a project, and some test questions. Right? 2 weeks. And then we're done. We're done. And then we can just relax. Let's talk about sex. The reproductive system, the birds and the bees, if you will. Right. Today we are going to talk about some differences between men and women beyond the obvious that you should already know at this point. And we are going to talk about the male reproductive system. I'm going to save the female reproductive system for its own video. It's a bit more involved. As I always like to say, men's bodies care about quantity, women's bodies care about quality. So ladies, your bodies are a bit more careful about things. That's what the whole menstrual cycle is all about, and we're going to have to take some time to talk about that. So you get your own section. Today, guys, basic development ideas and the male reproductive system. So let's jump into this. What does the reproductive system do in general? This is for both men and women. Produces, stores, and releases gametes. This is a word that you should remember. Gametes are the cells that have half the genes from one parent. All right, so men, we're talking about sperm. Ladies, we're talking about eggs. 2 gametes from 2 different people fused together, as shown here. Sperm finds its way in, and we would now call this an embryo. Right? A zygote would be the official term for this. Right? Sperm, egg, get together. You now have the original cell of a brand new human being. That is a zygote. It is the first stage of a developing embryo. This video down here that just popped up, not educational purposes, just a cool visualization, and I will link it in Google Classroom for you. This fused cell now has 1 complete set of genes. The baby will grow from that set of genes. We talked about how that happens back in Bio 1. If you remember a couple different things, DNA replication, all right? That zygote, back up here, this zygote has 1 complete set of genes. And yes, guys, this is a real human egg zoomed in really far, all right? Once we saw that sperm go in, it now has 1 set of DNA. That DNA, if you remember the double helix, splits in half, and then all the different pieces start adding in, and now you have 2 sets. And those 2 sets get their own, each one gets their own cell. And then the zygote becomes 2 cells. And then it happens again and again and again. And then we're going to talk about how all those cells start becoming a person. We talked about that back in Bio 1 with protein synthesis. In this case, mom will be adding the amino acids, and the baby will be assembling those amino acids into proteins that will become body parts, and it'll start developing structures. But before going there, I want to talk about an old myth. Now, I don't even know if you guys even know this myth anymore. This is back when Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park, first came out in 1993, I think. And they said in the movie,
all vertebrate embryos are inherently female anyway. They just require an extra hormone given at the right developmental stage to make them male.
Yes and no. Right? No, you do not all start off as female. Ladies, you started off as female. Gentlemen, you started off as male, but in reality, we started off as neither. Right? You weren't male or female at first. You were an embryo. Sperm hit the egg, and they start developing body parts. And there are some body parts that are way more important than your sexual body parts, all right? Your body was ignoring them for some time, right? Your body had to develop your spinal cord, which attaches to your brain. It had to develop that. It had to develop your heart and your liver and eventually your lungs. So those are much more important things. They keep you alive. Your sexual body parts do not keep you alive. But here's where the myth comes from. Because your heart and your lungs and your liver are in your chest cavity, your body had to produce a chest. Now, men and women have different chest pieces. You may have noticed this, right? It's breast tissue I'm talking about, if that went over your head. And your body doesn't care if you're male or female yet. So are we developing breast tissue or not? Your body doesn't know. So it just goes ahead and does it. Everybody gets breast tissue. That's right, gentlemen. The people of the male persuasion listening to this video right now, you have breasts. Congratulations, you have breast tissue. With the correct hormonal treatments, those could develop into fully functional breasts. We just, as males, do not have those hormones, so they don't fully develop, but they are there because your body didn't know what you were going to be. They put it there just in case. But you were never actually supposed to be female. The truth is, I wrote gender, I should have wrote sex to be more specific. Your physical sex, male or female, is chosen upon conception. The Y chromosome does not change female parts into male parts, all right? Anything that develops stays. Those parts that the Y chromosome handles just don't start forming until later. The Y chromosome is going to be dominant over the X chromosome in certain aspects. So it will just prevent the female parts from growing in the first place. Right? Just like we talked about back in Bio 1, well, a lot of Bio 1 today, talking about dominant and recessive alleles. Brown eyes are dominant over blue eyes. Brown hair is dominant over red hair. The genes, the alleles on the Y chromosome are dominant over the alleles on the X chromosome. It's just that the Y chromosome is very small, so it doesn't cover all of the X chromosome. So we do end up getting some of those pieces. All right, so now that baby is conceived and is developing into a human being, in the first 6 weeks, all embryos are going to be identical, right? No gender shown. We can't really tell what we're looking at. We just know that it is, in fact, an embryo. It's about the 7th week where you start being able to tell if it's male or female. So at about 7 weeks, if you're a male, testes were formed. And guys, yes, they are called testes, not testicles, right? That is a euphemism that kind of stuck and we all accept it as a real word. But the real word is actually testes. And ladies, ovaries are your sexual reproductive organ. Right? Those are glands. If you remember glands, clumps of cells that go through protein synthesis and make things. These are the things that are making things for you. Testes are going to be used to make things for men. Ovaries are used to make things for women. All those other body parts are distribution body parts. Right? If you're getting my meaning on that. So testes, their main goal is to produce testosterone. You see the name patterns match up there, right? Testosterone is a growth hormone. It's the reason why it's much easier for most men to develop muscle than it is for most women. It's the reason why most men tend to be taller than most women. Testosterone is a growth hormone and is used for growing and creating all of that sperm. Right? Because men need a whole bunch of just raw growth hormones because we care about quantity, not quality. We are going to be doing a lot of building. We're talking trillions and trillions of sperm. The testosterone is also going to be the cause of the formation of male physical characteristics. Like I said, the reason why most men tend to be taller than most women, more muscular. Most men are more muscular than most women. Most men have more facial hair than most women, that sort of thing. Ovaries are going to produce estrogen and progesterone. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard of estrogen already. Right? Estrogen is what's needed for producing eggs. It's also used to cause the formation of female characteristics. Most notably, the wider hips. Most women have wider hips than most men. That's because birth canal. What you're probably not used to hearing is progesterone. This is what prepares the uterus for developing an embryo. Let's put that into easier terms. Estrogen helps you get pregnant. Progesterone helps you be pregnant. All right. If you're not pregnant yet, you are flooded with estrogen, and it's going to help you make the eggs, and it's going to help you produce an adult female body, and it's going to help you get pregnant. Once you are pregnant, though, you're no longer trying to get pregnant. Your body has a different thing to do: protect this baby, grow this baby. That's where progesterone comes in. That's what that does. So we're going to talk more about that when we get into the female reproductive system. All right. Sexual development in a human being. Sexual organs do not produce gametes until puberty. All right. So that means men, you have testes your entire life. They don't actually kick in until puberty. Right. And that's usually around 9 years old to 15 years old. And that's when you get those sudden growth spurts and you go from being a generic little kid to start becoming a man. Ladies, same thing. I didn't mean to hit that button. You have ovaries. They're just not really doing anything until somewhere around 9 years old to 15 years old. And that's when you start going from generic little kid to adult female. And you also start developing estrogen to start developing your female characteristics. And you also start your menstrual cycle a month later. That's important, ladies. People think that you can't get pregnant until you already have your period. No, you can get pregnant about a month before your first period. The period is the end of the menstrual cycle, which means you had a full cycle before that. You are capable of getting pregnant before that happens. So be careful. So let's talk about these reproductive systems, the body parts involved in making these things happen. Today, we're going to be talking about the male reproductive system. We will come back later for the more involved female reproductive system. The purpose of this male reproductive system is to produce and transport sperm, starting with the testes, being that these are the glands that are going to produce the actual sperm that we need to be spread. So two different pictures here, a more three-dimensional picture so you can see this, but a lot of people like the two-dimensional one better. You can actually see less detail, so it's less confusing. Right. This is where meiosis is going to happen. Again, Bio 1. This is why you took Bio 1 before coming here. You learn about mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis we'll worry about in human development. Meiosis is about sperm and egg development. And meiosis for men is going to happen in here. The sperm is going to be the result of the male meiosis. You remember this picture again from Bio 1? If you had me, this is the exact picture I showed you. One cell, called a spermatocyte, is going to split almost like mitosis, but then it's going to split again. And those cells now have half the information. Right? We learned that during the cell cycle, you double up on your DNA. So you have enough DNA for 2 cells, but you end up with 4 cells. So it's only half the information in each cell. And that's fine because some lady is going to have the other half. Oh, didn't mean to hit that button. All right. So in the testis, the singular for testes, you have all of these tubes, tiny little tubes where the sperm is being created, and they're going to be transported up here. And then surrounding the outside of a testis is this bundle of tubes called the epididymis. It's more of a storage area. Once the sperm is made in here, it's going to get stored up in here. So there's more room for creation. Man, you are on constant production. It never really stops. So let's talk about that epididymis. Again, this bundle of these tubes sits right on top of the testes. Get a clear image on this one as well. I don't think I can, I can't zoom in, so you guys are going to have to zoom in on your side to see that better. Right. This is a tube right up, or actually a bundle of tubes right up against the testes. Sperm moves in here to finish maturing. So they're not even done being made. Sperm is mostly made in the testis and then moves into the epididymis and continues a little bit more. And like I said earlier, it is a storage area. So it's going to be sitting here waiting until it's needed. And when the male is ready to ejaculate, it's all going to come through here and then spread through all the tubes to get to the exit. So we need to follow a path to get there. So this is the whole overall picture. A bigger shot here is the testis, the epididymis, and then the tube that it's going to follow, which we shall name, and then another gland, which is going to help, and then right on outside. So let's talk about that next step. We got the testis and then the epididymis, and then it's going to move through this tube that we call the vas deferens. This is a tube from the epididymis to the abdominal cavity that is going to transport sperm to the urethra. If you don't remember urethra from health class, that is this tube that humans pee out of. Right? This is the urinary exit. Men, you are also going to use that for transporting sperm. Ladies, you are not going to use the urethra for sexual reasons. You only use yours for urine, and that is it. Right? There is a whole separate entrance and exit for your sexual needs. By the way, for men who are going to undergo procedures so that they are not going to get anyone pregnant, this is the tube that is going to be cut. Right, this is the vas deferens, as doctors like to call the vas. Hey guys, this is Future Laconii. I completely forgot to say the actual name of this procedure is a vasectomy. Right? In medical terms, ectomy means to remove. So vasectomy would mean to remove the vas, which we don't actually remove it, we just cut it. But it is much safer for men to have a vasectomy than it is to have a woman's tubes tied. I now return you to your regularly scheduled notes. And once it gets cut here and here, they would usually cauterize the wound so that it's completely blocked off, and then sperm cannot travel. And once it's completely blocked, sperm production, when there's not enough room to make any more sperm, production just kind of stops. But testosterone continues, so it's not going to affect your body. But it will prevent you from getting anybody pregnant. So again, this tube right here. So testis, epididymis, vas deferens. All right, moving along, this vas deferens, shown green here and kind of tan here, is what's called the prostate gland. Men, once you hit your 40s or 50s, it's very important to get your prostate gland checked out because it's a common place for cancer development. Women, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have a prostate gland. You have a whole bunch of other worries in that department. The prostate gland's job, though, is to create seminal fluid. Right? That is the liquid portion of semen. The sperm develops here, and then it floats in a liquid that's seminal fluid, we call it, that's developed here in the prostate gland. And then that mixture together is going to carry on. It's going to send that fluid to the urethra with the sperm. Oh, and I animated that. There you go. You see right here. So again, up the tube, into the prostate, and then into the urethra. Then on this picture, same thing, up the vas deferens tube, into the prostate, and then from there into the urethra. And of course, I've already mentioned it, the urethra, the tube that leads through the penis into the outside of the body. This is the urinary exit. It's also the sperm exit. And then, of course, the urethra is part of the overall structure known as the penis. This is the male sex organ of transport, I should say. The testes are the male sex organ of development. The penis is the male sex organ of transport. And then that's where we're going to call it quits for today. Ladies, next time is your turn. We're going to talk about the female reproductive system and everything that goes on with that. So look in Google Classroom for an assignment, and I will see you next time.